Welcome to Date with Danu right here on Hi TV, your luxury channel. Today we are talking about tourism because Sri Lanka is going through a crunch and this is the only way we can bring us back to all its glory. Now, trying to get that sorted, we have a person who is leading the team, and today on the show I'm going to be speaking to him and his 4 main guys who make tourism happen in Sri Lanka.
I am Harin Fernando. Today I'm here to go on a date with Danu, which will be interesting. And as you all know, Danu is a character of his own. He's hilarious and he makes anybody laugh, but he has his own dark secrets as well. So I hope to go at him as well because he loves the gym and he loves certain trainers at the gym. So I need to ask him which one he chooses now, and all the rugrats as well. So it will be interesting. I'll be here to talk about tourism, what plans we have for the future, and how everybody in Sri Lanka can contribute. So including Danu, I'm trying to get him on board to help us take Sri Lanka to the world. Thank you.
And we have the man of the moment, we have Harin Fernando. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So this is a Josephian patriot combination that I really like. To start things off, you have bitten a bit of a big cake. And how is it going?
Oh, well, to be honest, I'm quite excited with what's in store for us. We went through, it's always a struggle, and a struggle makes you better. That's what I realized, and when I took this opportunity, when the opportunity was given to me, I wanted to make sure that we do well. And I mean, Sri Lanka is a treasure. We are sitting on that treasure. I always keep saying this. So now that things are changing, I feel lots of positive outcomes are coming in. There's so many loads of restaurants starting to start here. Different brand name hotels are looking at Sri Lanka. And the travel agents also are very excited with all the bookings that's coming their way for December. So the season looks very interesting, and looking forward to it. So I mean, it was a risk we took, and it's a risk that was worth taking.
It has been quite a hectic schedule for you from the time you took this over. Do you have time for life?
Well, I was just thinking the schedule today was crazy, and now that we do a little bit of politics as well. And I also spend a lot of time with my rugby team at the school, so I do quite a lot of things. Well, I try and balance it out, but it's quite a lot of traveling involved as well. But it's all exciting. We meet some great people, and there's so much of awareness of Sri Lanka, and they want to help Sri Lanka, and that's what matters. And everybody just likes Sri Lanka because our Sri Lankan people are so hospitable, and they don't ever doubt that for a minute. So it looks good, and I believe I mean, taking Sri Lanka out is something I'm very passionate about.
Now, you have headed different ministries. What has been your favorite?
Well, so far, to be honest, I would say tourism.
Really? Even more than sports?
Yeah, sports, see, you don't really necessarily get engaged with the sportsman itself, but it's all the associations, and those are all, you don't need to go there. So there's actually no life in the sports, or you cannot really develop, because when you go and sit in the office, it's all complaints of how they have not done things, and etc. So, and also for some sportsmen, when they lose, it's a sports minister's fault.
Yeah.
But when they win,
it's not their glory.
Yeah. So I went through it for a while, but I thought, okay, look, I could be more useful in somewhere else. And
so and anyway, I think even if you're a sportsman, you have to go through tourism if you're going to represent.
Yeah. So, and also I believe that we have lands as well. So for investment, that's a huge thing. And Sri Lankans, most of the Sri Lankan people don't have land, and we can give them land. So we are on a mission to give every Sri Lankan who does not have a land at least 10 purchase for everybody on outright. So
that's amazing. Tourism comes under 4 very cool sectors, and that's what we're going to talk about. Everything is headed by very colorful personalities who have been doing their part in developing this. I think prior to this, it was all under one.
Yep.
And you sort of broke it up again.
So there's 4 institutions. There is a different arm to do the promotions. The licensing, the governing body is the development authority, and then we have a specific person for conventions and weddings, etc. So it's very targeted. And then we have the hotel school, which is also very important, where we train most of the Sri Lankan
This way you can
hoteliers.
also sort of hold somebody liable towards that area.
Absolutely. I didn't understand the point of why one person had to do it all. It might not just really get there. So it's just like wanting to have the authority would be the reason of just one person being there. But I thought, since I'm hands-on, I thought it's easier for me to work with 4 people, so I can really concentrate on those specifics. I thought that's what I wanted to do. So.
Yeah, I will speak to you about the appointment of these 4 people when we do come back. We have 2 joining us on the show, but before that, I have to give this to you. You left it back last time.
Oh, it's my shirt.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm
I
just
didn't leave my shirt.
I'm just going to say he's a large. And it's not even a slim cut. I just had to give it, but I've laundried it for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's fresh. We'll see you after this because I have 2 of the, what can I say, the chairmans joining us on the other side. Do stick around. It's Dated.
Hi, I'm Chalaka.
Hi, I am Priantha.
We are going
here
on a
to
date
be
with Danu.
We are here to discuss regarding tourism and the contribution that tourism could do for the economy of Sri Lanka and the way forward.
From my point of view, I'm responsible to rebuild the image of Sri Lanka from a tourism point of view and rebuild the market for future prospects to going forward from a Sri Lankan image point of view.
Welcome back to the show. So joining me, I have Priantha and Chalaka. Thank you so much for joining me and being on the show. I'm so happy I was able to get all 5 of you. There's 2 more to come, but it's amazing. Thank you for being here. We're talking about such pressing issues in terms of tourism. Before I get to them, I want to ask you, how was it to appoint the 4 of them and what were you looking out for?
Well, I think when we talk about Priantha, he has vast experience, and when you're a regulator or a administrative part of Sri Lanka tourism, you need somebody who's done it, who has been educated with it, and who has a work experience. So Priantha have even done the blueprint for Bangladesh tourism. His education goes back to London, and he did all his education on this entire industry. And I think he's the ideal person to run the job. So it was not a personal connection. He was introduced to me. I never knew him from my past, but with the introduction, I was just happy. I mean, it was not about which political party he was in or whether he was my friend. So, but I thought he could do the job, so I was very happy with it. And Chalaka. Chalaka is a known person in the marketing field, so I think he has worked in many places. Many places is also a bit of an issue, but I think that he will stick here long enough. But his experience is quite vast. He's very well known in the industry on advertising.
Yeah.
So he needs to advertise Sri Lanka. That's his job role. So it's promotion bureau, and entirely he just fits the bill. So we had no issue.
When it comes to appointments, unfortunately, you have to always say why, because in this country there's always been like an appointment for favor. So that's why I had to ask. So let's speak about when you all took these up. Comfortable jobs are there, but this is not exactly the most comfortable thing to hold.
And also not much paid for what they've been getting. So
that's true. That's true.
So it's more or less a service they're actually rendering.
So let me start. How are you all feeding yourself at home?
It's hectic. It's a 8 to 11 job
gosh.
from morning till night, and there's a lot more to be done. Industry is in dire straits. We have to pull it out. I undertook a challenge. It was the challenge which motivated me to come and do something for the country. Because Sri Lanka has a lot of potential from a tourism perspective. We can do wonders. I'm sure in 5 years, under the correct leadership, by 2027, tourism could be the main foreign exchange earner for the economy.
And that's how it should be.
It will be so.
Yeah. And advertising brands is like in your DNA, and positioning brands. Sri Lanka is such a small country and it's easy to be positioned. And also we have been fortunate enough to be positioned on the world map in the most beautiful place as a natural harbor. Why has it been so hard for us to make this a global news?
If I may say in one word, we are an all-in-one capsule. you know, where you can get to, you know, you can surf in Arugambe, and half an hour later you can be in Kumana watching the birds and, you know, going on a date with leopards, not with Danu. And, you know, that's the beauty about Sri Lanka, you know. You can do so many things, but unfortunately we have done so many positioning statements in the past, within the past 20 years or so. Under Minister's guidance, we need to create that DNA, you use the correct word, DNA. We need to build that mother brand. That is my task, to build that image for the country and then categorize them. You know, if you look at Sri Lanka, there are so many categories, from wildlife, adventure tourism, camping, surfing, nightlife. You know, you get it, I can go on, the list can go on, and within that there are subcategories as well. So our task, my task from a promotional and a marketing point of view is break them down under a proper DNA. One example I would take is our neighbor, Incredible India, how they started 15 years ago and how successful it is. And our neighboring countries have not changed their statements, but it has been in a proper way that has structured the DNA. So that is my task, along with the minister and then the other 3 chairmen, to take this forward from a marketing point of view.
Brilliant. You know, something that I always have a problem with is, now you guys have come in and you have taken over this position. Harin, if there is a change, would we be leaving this thought process? And again, we'll have to find new people and they will think differently, and again we start.
Well, what we have discussed with our Ministry Secretary, he's also one of the most senior officers in Sri Lanka, government officers, and what we realized is, even for the country as well as for tourism, there should be a policy that does not change just because people change or governments change. That's where we have really screwed ourselves. Sorry for my language,
that's
but
okay.
that's where
But
we
should
have
the
got it wrong.
chairmans change? Just because the ministry changes?
See, what happens is that sometimes people who becomes the minister is more comfortable working with his people, or to get the political ideology also passed on to different sectors. So, but having said that, all these departments have permanent staff who have been like an MD, there could be a DG, Director General, so they are constantly serving. So what we keep telling them as well is to follow the policy, not the person in future. So hopefully we are doing a blueprint for Sri Lanka tourism as well. Once it's done, so if somebody is smart enough, they'll just carry on with that work.
And they'll all speak the same language. I think that's the most important. Correct. We're getting into a break. We'll see you on the other side. So much to speak about, especially considering the fact that we would like to have a good year end. Let's speak more when we do come back. Do stick around. It's taken down. Welcome back to the show. So I have to say welcome to Coke Zero. They're on the show as well. It's definitely a new adventure. I'm talking about making things so much more colorful in Sri Lanka. So I thought we need to play something with all these people who are promoting Sri Lanka. And I have a very simple game called How Well Do You Know Sri Lanka?
Okay, good.
All right. You know, I did a lot of research to come up with these. We'll see how well you score. And you know, you also walk away with this.
Nobody told this.
Quiz show.
Because, you know, I can't do this show the way I will usually do it. So I wanted like to jazz it up a little bit. All right, all of you look very stressed. Actually, the other two saved themselves from this.
Can see that.
All right, then, let's go. The one who answers the most will walk away with this gift.
See, I'm going to just opt out because I need to see who's best.
Captain's game.
Let's start. Let's see how it's going. Some of these are very easy. When was the Sri Lanka Tourist Bureau established? Your options are 1936, 1937, 1939.
1939?
No.
Son.
Correct.
Captain knows, Captain knows.
Thank you for just knocking
that was just like on the side. We have 2 more options.
Two more
Just
options.
the one. All right. Most tourists arrive in Sri Lanka during 2020 from which country?
2020.
In 2020. 20,
Russia?
India.
India.
Well done, well done. Two. Russia is there. They were the top third. What is the legislative capital of Sri Lanka?
Sri Jayasuriya.
Well done. What's the name of King Kashyap's fortress?
Sigiriya.
I had to give it.
Well done, well done. You know, these are actually very simple questions.
Yeah.
How many districts are there in Sri Lanka?
25.
25, sorry.
25.
What did you say?
I said 22. That's because the Jaffna, we didn't take it at that time.
That's right.
So the 3 districts didn't come.
The initial name Ceylon was established in which year?
No options?
No.
Options? Late 1800?
1918.
It was, okay, let me give you a tip. It was by the Portuguese.
1515.
Good, but 1505.
Okay. Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Zero.
You just got the numbers wrong.
Half a mark.
Yeah. From whom did Sri Lanka beat the 1996 World Cup?
Pakistan.
Australia.
In Pakistan. I said.
Australia.
Australia. That's what I said.
Yeah, he got that. He got
Yeah,
that. You're putting us under
In
pressure.
Pakistan, Australia.
I actually went for the game.
I was too young to travel at that time.
I was 15 when I traveled.
Were you born at that time?
Yeah, I was born. Thanks, though. Thank you. What is the popular spice that is native to our island that is now grown across Southeast Asia?
Cardamoms.
No.
Cinnamon.
Spice.
Spice.
By the way, we produce 90% of cinnamon for the global market.
My God.
Additional
See,
point?
points just coming out. at this
Additional point?
Yeah. Who is the current captain of the Sri Lankan female cricket team?
Gajabahu.
Well done. I'm so happy that you knew that. Both of you all didn't know, no?
New but under pressure because boss is going to answer.
We have to give him a chance.
At least, as a sportsman, I should know.
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
So,
Who was the first Sri Lankan to have climbed Mount Everest?
that lady, what's her name? Not the Johan and
I
the other girl.
actually sponsored.
No, I know the girl's name. Wait.
No idea at all.
I know.
I
I
know.
tip up
So
my
there
tongue.
was two who went.
Jayanti.
Jayanti. Yes. Johan.
Yeah, he
the guy-
climbed the second
yeah,
time.
Second
Second
time.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
They both went together though, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
first time, and they were there halfway.
He couldn't make it. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Almost there.
Missed by the Keskas.
Yeah.
But I must say, you love Coca-Cola Zero, correct?
Yes.
But I can't give it to you. You failed miserably. I'm sorry.
Yes. That's fine.
Because it's so refreshing, and it really is something that I have just before the show. I must say, I'm not
Biased.
saying biased, but I think you won.
Oh,
Congratulations! This for you. Thank you for being on the show. I'll just give it to you a bit late. It's a bit too heavy to carry.
Okay.
All right, let's get into a break. We'll see you on the other side. Well played, boys, I must say.
Thank you.
Right after this.
My name is Thisum Jayasuriya from Sri Lanka Tourist Board.
Hi, my name is Shirantha Peiris from Sri Lanka Institute of Tourism and Hotel Management.
And we are here today to go on a date with Danu. If I'm to say about Danu, I think Danu is funny and loud at the same time.
Yes, and I've seen Danu's interviews and videos, and I like his sense of humor.
So we are here today to talk about the industry, our future plans, and what we intend to do in the future to uplift the industry that's just recovering from a crisis.
And also how we can contribute to a strategic plan which is already in place, and how we can take, speaking of the institutes, to take the institute to the next level.
Welcome back to the show. It's Date with Danu, and I have the other two chairmen who have taken their seat here. Just for more details, they're both the Josephians. I'm happy to have Thisum.
Hi.
And also I have Shirantha. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to ask you your appointment of them, apart from the fact that you just found them from your school.
well, to be honest, Thisum, I've been knowing him from pre-grade 1. So he was working for Emirates. He worked on. He doesn't talk about my politics. We were very friends for life actually. And,
Y'all are non-political conversation people.
Yes, because he doesn't enjoy politics much, and I don't want to take his advice because I don't think he knows any shit. And so if we ever talk about it, it's going to end up with an argument. So we have decided we don't talk politics.
That's a nice
So we have been good friends, and I also, it took me time to realize that this guy is capable. Because we were too close friends, and I always take the Mickey.
You overlook the people who you're close to.
It's natural, but then when I mean, I didn't want anybody saying, okay, I have a friend in there, because the only reason is a friendship. But
friend is there, wait a minute, than family.
That's true. so it was beyond that, because he was a CEO of United Air Canada, Lufthansa. So he had so much of experience with getting this work, and this was a different concept, but I knew he did a lot of inbound and outbound tourism as well, so experience was vast.
Definitely.
Then I realized that we are old also to see he had about 25 years behind him as experience, so I thought, why not him? So that's why I invited him to come and join. And also for Shirantha, he's been a cabin supervisor from Sri Lankan Airlines, having I've met him a couple of times, and the way he spoke, it really made me realize that this is the ideal guy on hospitality. So what he did was all the airlines in Etihad. He had worked for a few other airlines as well as a main instructor. And I thought that is what we need even in hospitality industry, which is the hotel school, etc. And I wanted some new thinking, foreign experience. So I figured out these guys are the best.
Brilliant. It's always nice to see Sri Lanka from an outside perspective, because you all might have been forced to see it from a different perspective because all the people you all have worked with. How has it been promoting Sri Lanka? It could be in terms of hospitality, it could be in terms of the whole airline sector. How has it been speaking about Sri Lanka before and now?
I think for us, coming from the private sector to work in the government sector, it was a bit of a transition for us.
Correct.
But I think it took a little while for us to adjust to the system. But I think now we have, we understood how to work with the sector and, to promote Sri Lanka. So to answering your question, I think we are thinking about new innovative ideas. We don't want to be like conventional, to promote just exhibitions or like conventions in Sri Lanka. So we are looking at a lot of events, like extreme water sports events, like stuff like that to attract a new market segment. Yeah.
Oh, just to add up to that, we are about to sign with Extreme Sports from England, and they promote their own channel, adventure. They will build certain things, maybe mountain climbing, the bikes, the hiking bikes, and we are also promoting a trail, 22-day trail called Pico Trails. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing where you go on the estates and you see those communities. But my vision is I want to make sure that one day I build those line rooms where the estate community stayed as lodging places where people will experience it. It will be a different concept. I mean, the food will be what they ate. So and when it's 22 days, you can first do it in 4 stages. So you leave a part of you behind to come back and continue your rest of the trail. So we're quite excited to introduce out-of-the-box thinking, just like Thisum said. We are a country, we have over 39% of water bodies within the country, and we're surrounded by water. We should be going for medals in water sports, I would say, because that's an easiest thing to promote.
But it's kind of funny, the Sri Lankan communities are the ones who can't swim.
Correct?
Yeah. The islanders who...
Correct?
Yeah.
But we know how to party.
Yes, definitely. By the beach, but not somewhere in there.
In the water.
Yeah. For you, being a part of the national carrier and working with so many people, our hospitality has always been remarkable, but there's always, all the smiles and all the welcomes don't sort of add up to like one boo-boo that somebody might create. How do you plan on promoting a new life or bringing in something new to the people who are part of it right now?
Yes, obviously what got me here, I cannot forget our national career, Sri Lanka. That is what took me abroad, and managing and large teams with Etihad Airways. And to get back to what Thisum said, coming from the private sector, working for 36, 37 years, and before we learned, we had to do a lot of unlearning to fit in to the system and see how best we can support and develop. And speaking of the institutes, 9 colleges island-wide, there are key components, because we need to take the education system within the ministry to the next level,
we need to rub shoulders with the global institutes. We need to benchmark with the best in the region, which has not happened in the past, sadly. And to do that, there are two key areas that we focus. One is employee engagement, which lacks in many areas in Sri Lanka, leave alone our institutes, and fair, effective and efficient performance management system. That's where you get everyone to contribute and work and achieve their objectives, not for people to do what they have been used to do, very monotonous. The level of motivation is very low. So my job is also to see that everyone is energetic and enthusiastic and they deliver with a lot of passion. So that is going to take time. And also to support the industry in terms of requirement, manpower requirement, to make sure that we have the proper people trained to support the industry. And like you mentioned about hospitality, I mean, I've been to many countries, being in aviation for 35 plus years, but I've never seen a country with so much of hospitality like Sri Lanka. I mean, you walk into a house and they're so happy to see you. You're not even informed that you're coming, but they're so excited. Right?
Yeah,
and
then just invading people's spaces and you're being happy about it.
And you can't do that abroad. Yeah, I mean, all of us know that.
Commenting about it.
Yeah.
And then you offer them a cup of tea and then you catch up. Then obviously it's lunchtime. Okay, it's lunchtime. Why don't we have some lunch? You know, nothing special, but let's sit for lunch, and then you know how it ends up. Now that level of hospitality is not seen in the corporate world. That is the problem we are facing. So if we have this in our DNA, right, why can't we take it to a professional platform? So that is another area that I'm looking at to change. You know, it's a paradigm shift that we need to do, but it takes time.
But I liked something that you said, you all have to also do a lot of unlearning.
Absolutely.
The government sectors have always been seen like, you know, very morose kind of approach. And we always like to work with the private sector because we feel like, oh, it's so much more easier, very much efficient. Changing that mindset, one, I think the members of parliament who have been leading such positions have been older and they've come from a different walk of life. But how has it been seeing it today, these changes? Are the people who have worked in the older system willing to accept this, especially in the tourism sector?
Well, to answer to your question, I think it's not just the problem with the people who are working. I think it's the protocol, it's the set of like what you require to do, get your job done. I think those things have to be changed. These are little old fashioned, like the procurement policy. Procurement is good, but what I'm saying is the documentation you require. So I think there should be more flexibility like in the private sector. See, in the private sector, even for you to spend 10 rupees, there's so much you have to look into. So it's there in the government sector as well, but the way you look at it has to be changed. It has to be modern and it has to be more practical.
I think even the president recently said people who don't want to be quick and just want to delay things, they should actually leave. Because I think 74 years where we have gone wrong is we put so much of red tape or so much of bottlenecks. We create those necks so that you can delay, and then I don't know what satisfaction they get out of it. But delaying is not good, and there should be a transparent process, but it should be quick and not to go through. I mean, even in lands, I can show you one day the amount of files that I had to sign. I do not know what the hell I'm signing, because there's nobody going through it, but it comes through a system. But to see certain files are about 2 years old, and that's bad. So
and that represents us badly.
Exactly.
Yeah. And because you all are coming from private sector, you all will want efficiency, and there's never a tomorrow in a private sector because it's all measured and
yesterday
managed. Yeah. So I think that sort of gives a new. The reason why I asked is because we do have an old system that is still sort of embodying it. Your way of thinking, has it put you into trouble?
Always. I'm always controversial.
Yeah, true.
With anything I do. But I believe I've been successful as well, because I've been able to push. And as long as you know there's no hidden agenda in it and you can back yourself, so you might cut loose and try to get things moving. It has not really put me in trouble, because I behind me I had nothing in my closet. So I was very happy to face any person countering me on that. I've never worried. So that's one of the ways that I think I've got through.
I think tourism is also working very well with us in terms of our cricket team. They're performing well. We are doing this show soon after the win against India. Just wanted to ask you, promoting Sri Lanka in India, yesterday there was a meme that was running around, now say goodbye to fuel. But I just want to know, promoting Sri Lanka in India has been one of the first.
See, I'm just thrilled about the match yesterday. See, I've been to Kerala, I've been to one of the biggest ashrams, and those ashrams are going to have a branch in Sri Lanka. So there are about 1,000 to 1,500 people who come on a ferry very soon, and that'll be amazing. So one thing I realized is
Ricky Martin also went there. He can
yeah.
come here now.
I was actually thinking, right next to us, Kerala was a 35-minute flight. I guess so much of potential to work with this brand. There were some rich people, very rich people, and they can easily have a branch in Sri Lanka. So we've been running to UK, to Australia, to US. When you really have somebody so close, and it's huge market, and why are we not using them? So that's why I wanted to consider India. Now, Shirantha Jayasuriya has been a fantastic servant of all of this. I had to remind about him.
And how has it been, and especially from all three points of view?
Well, Shirantha is voluntary job. We have, I mean, even when we went abroad, none of the tickets I have paid from the government money. It's all on invitations. I mean, tonight I'm going to do an invitation. We're trying to meet the FIFA president because there's a massive World Cup crowd coming. We're trying to find a promotional way to put our necks in there. Yeah. And the FIFA also, we have offered them a land to build an international football stadium in Sri Lanka. So within 1 hour's distance, we wanted to give a land in Kaluttara so the hotel industry also improves.
Can grow.
There's so much of potential, and I think we're doing well, and I believe having Shirantha, the Legends tournament, everybody is wearing Visit Sri Lanka on the back, and all of their bats, they'll be Visit Sri Lanka. So that's a huge marketing. And the Asia Cup, every 5 minutes there's an entire ground LED branding goes Visit Sri Lanka. We didn't even pay a cent.
So are we pausing Sri Lanka?
No. It's just that we want, see, the campaign is Visit Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka is like part of us, right? Yeah. It will always be there. But right now what we need is, because we have just come out of a crisis. Yeah. So the immediate tagline, the hashtag, we thought was Visit Sri Lanka. Yeah. So,
or you can say we are Sri Lanka, come and visit us.
Come and visit us. Yeah.
Too long. So to be very honest, whatever I speak, I'm very honest and I speak from my heart. I never liked the Sri Lanka tag, to be honest, because it's good for us to say, oh, this is so again, so Sri Lankan win. That you can say, but for a foreigner, Sri Lanka doesn't really attract. So if I was there, I would have not made the decision. But we have now agreed to work with it, so we're working with it. Yeah. But like Thisum said, the direct message should be Visit Sri Lanka. Then it can be Sri Lanka or not Sri Lanka.
Need of the hour, so visit us.
Visit us is the first thing for us.
But adding to what the Minister mentioned, I would like to say that we promote a lot of public-private affiliations now, because even the recent roadshow we did in Gujarat, which was a massive success, we didn't spend a cent from the government money. Right. So myself, Minister and Shirantha Jayasuriya, we all went. And it was a very good success. Now we are actually discussing to get charters down to Sri Lanka. So I think that should be the future.
Yes. I have to ask you this. Coming from an airline aviation industry, we have been always told that our national carrier is just bleeding money, being the key word, bleeding money, bleeding money. Tell me about this bleeding money. Can we ever rectify it? Should it be privatized? Would all of those be privatized? Do you think all the cabin members' representation has been top-notch?
Well, I'm sure Sri Lankan Airline, the national carrier, can change to a profit-making entity, because the time Air Lanka changed to Sri Lankan and it was managed by another airline, I mean, they declared profits. So it's run by people, and it's about introducing global best practices and having a strategic plan which is realistic and achievable. You don't try to do things beyond your means. I'm not saying they did it, but this is in general terminology. If I speak about myself and running of the 9 colleges, and as I've said before, I have a realistic and achievable strategic plan, short term, mid term and long term. And we are definitely going to achieve whether there is a crisis or not. So it is about, I've said this before, I'm saying it again, people try to be efficient without knowing what they should be doing before. You have to be effective. Only then you take the next step to being efficient. And so I'm sure with the changes that needs to be taken, because the national airline, if you ask me, I've been there for over 21 years and I don't want to see this go. It has to remain. So I'm sure with the people there or new, I don't know, it's up to.
I think a restructuring would do the change.
Privatizing, would it be a good option?
And it's going to be 51-49. So
yeah, and also, I mean, for me also, whenever I am in the airport and I see a Sri Lankan airline aircraft coming in, that gives me joy and pride.
Of course.
Yeah. And I don't want to see it completely losing its entire face. But I have to say, being a politician, these kind of airlines should have been run by the corporate sector, not by politicians. And that's where I think we did a categorical mistake. When we had a very good arrangement with Emirates and when it was working so well, I remember I used to be a student then. I mean, even if you miss a Sri Lankan flight, you can take the Emirates flight. Coach was in a different level. They get you on that flight and we had so much of reach.
And the sectors were bigger.
And sectors were bigger.
And I was working for Emirates at that time when the merge happened. So
I believe that again, Sri Lanka can strike a deal. The only thing is right now we have nothing to offer them. We have so much of loans on it. So, I mean, in simple, if somebody comes and takes it and runs it 51-49, we don't want to send, we just want them to take the
loans and finish it off.
The liabilities and then run through.
Yeah, and if I may add something to, if you look at in general aviation, the other airlines in the region who are declaring profits go to similar airports that we fly. They pay the same overflying charges, landing charges, ground handling charges. They declare profit, we declare losses. So, you know, we need to, I mean, there is hope. I'm still a shareholder, I'm a proud shareholder, and I hope they bounce back and, you know, for us to continue and have a lot of pride in our national career.
No, definitely. I think the world looks at our cabin when they walk out, at least for the sari. Not for all the other reasons, but at least for the sari.
And the service, of course.
No, they're actually impressed with our
definitely.
service.
You know, I always say, as a Sri Lankan, I rather fly Sri Lankan Airlines because of the fact that you feel pampered.
Yeah.
Like there is something so, like, you know, they'll know your face and there's always, like, you'll at least get another biscuit. Makes it a bit more special. So there's always something warm about it. So we're getting into a break right now. When we do come back, we'll speak more about how we can do our part in making Sri Lanka better. Welcome back to the show. So something that we always see and things that really go viral are the mistakes that we tend to make. As much as there's one side of people who are smiling and welcoming everyone, then there's another side that's fighting for fuel and saying, get out and all those stuff. And those things tend to go international because we're not dealing with Sri Lankans. How one can rectify this? Number two, how do you sort of deal with such negativity? Because when the negativity comes, it comes flooding.
Oh, I think I'm a victim of this very well, and sometimes they do not take the message that is needed to be taken, but they create their own message out of it and makes that viral. So that's unfortunate, and I think it's in Sri Lankans, unfortunately. As much as we love Sri Lankans and we are Sri Lankan, people tend to take what they want. I mean, best example is today I had a UMP party convention and I read out a song, and there's one letter that I made a mistake. The entire speech, but it was dark marketing from my side, I would say. I knew you make one slip, the people who don't want to share your speech will be sharing it. It exactly happened. I just wanted to do a small sort of a research. I did the mistake, I know, but it's like, right? That's not the fact, but the message is not what they're trying to take. It's the best example even in what you just asked. Sri Lanka is there. I mean, I went through the East the similar way. I just said that they knew it. And to make it understandable, I said my sick father in the bed knew, so cops knew. But they took not that message, but they took my father knowing it. And I mean, that's simple. So even with in Sri Lanka, that whole fiasco with that cop telling that lady, when we inquired it, because we have a tourism police and we inquired it, she was a person who's living in there. Just because you look for him, he couldn't let her come there. The only thing is wrong is the way he handled it. He could have been a bit more soft and explain, look, you have to come through the line. But just because they were living Sri Lankans, they said this is how you treat tourists. But the people never wanted to really go into it and see what exactly was the issue. They say, how can but see, these are things like we as a community has to grow together, and in a time of a crisis like this, we should not divide because we are politically different. We need to all come together. I mean, just because I'm the tourism minister, sometimes it goes further viral just to attack me. But that is wrong. I mean, we need to, I'm not going to be in here forever, and I don't want to be in it forever. So it's just a temporary term that we do. We need to support and contribute towards the success. Sri Lanka is just unfortunate on that fact, you know, and people will just believe what they want to believe, and they share negativities. So just to counter even the foreign media covering us on lots of negativity, Sri Lankans should come out and say positive. That's why I came to the tagline, Sri Lanka can. And I believe Sri Lanka can, and we can only do that if we work together.
We're getting into a break, and we will see you on the other side. Do stick around. We'll stay with that. Welcome back to the show. So I have brought in Priantha and Chalaka because these are questions that only these two can answer. These are those hard ones. Welcome back to the show. As much as we promote Sri Lanka, there is also certain things that do happen and tend to go viral. One news is about sexual harassment. Recently there was a video that was going viral about the fact that she was raped by multiple people, and this video was across the world, and I think I would have got it from so many people. How do you rectify this situation, and how do you find the truth behind it, the people who are behind it, all of that?
Okay, we have already started.
You have the tough question.
Yeah, we have already started an inquiry into it. As you know, there's tourist police, which is under a senior superintendent of police. Through him, I have got him to investigate and submit a report. The initial report has come to the SLTDA, which gives a completely different picture. But we are having a meeting with the Secretary of Ministry of Tourism, also getting the Deputy Inspector General of Police and the SSP to go further into it. It has to be avoided. Definitely, security and safety of tourists is our prime concern. And if someone comes to our country, as much as these governments are more focused on ensuring the safety of their citizens when they are out, there's a responsibility on our shoulders as well to ensure that while they are on holiday in Sri Lanka, maximum protection and security is provided for them. We are trying to strengthen the tourist police. At the moment, there are 152 officers involved, patrolling most of the areas. But I agree with you, Danu, because if you take Bentota Berual area, there have been incidents. The Honorable Minister also had a stakeholder meeting in that area. At this meeting also they said we have to strengthen. We are going area by area. On the 13th and 14th we are going into the Kalpiti area, having a workshop there, meeting the stakeholders, finding out their difficulties, harassment to tourists, because if you take Kalpitiya, during the past season we have had about 600 to 800 foreigners staying there long term, right?
Long term.
Yeah, it's about 2-week holiday, kite surfing and windsurfing, whale watching, all that. So this is an up and coming destination which we need to develop on the correct lines and promote. If we don't do it right now, it will be something like what happened to Hikkaduwa Unamatuna. Once the damage is done, it's very difficult to undo it.
Just to add for that, what we have realized is we want to consider not the tourist zones. So we identify the zone and we put a particular security measures that we can take, can have CCTVs on it, more light at night, you know. These are things that we can do, but I'm quite convinced even with what Priantha just said. Some of the accusations on what went viral was on or not on the right causes. I mean, it has only came out after the visa was rejected, etc.
Yes,
so, I mean, I'm not saying
it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
We have to be impartial. We are going to more detail.
So we want to go for a proper investigation. I personally spoke to her.
Right, that's what I wanted to see. Yeah. Were you all able to have a conversation?
I'm in touch with her.
Right.
She messages me, and but she didn't bring it up with me. She was only bringing up the visa issue and what went ahead with that. So it is. I mean, it is just so happened that the police also and the immigration department found there's a fault in a visa. And what she said was that was done through the immigration itself. But they're the ones who offered her a 1-year visa and saying to put on medical. So I'm more concerned to actually find out who is the visa agent that is outside who is doing that. So these are things that we have to cover up for the tourists. And I'm actually glad and excited to say President and the government have decided to give 5-year multiple visa. For anybody who comes for $250, that's bloody worth. And even the normal $35 visa that we charge, now it's extended up to 6 months, one stay. So I think it's brilliant for tourism, and I think that's a way forward, because sometimes when you really have to go through that process, you might change your mind. Let me go to Maldives then. Let me know. So you need to keep it very simple. So you see the destination, like they just jump into it. So.
That is true. I wanted to ask you, how do you do a damage control for something like this?
Well, it's all up to, that's why we are, from a Sri Lankan point of view and from an international point of view, we are engaging with the influencers and bloggers and bloggers. You know, that marketing plan is underway right now from an international point of view. Under ministers' guidance again, we engage with the local influencers as well to portray a positive picture. At the same time, like Priantha said, yes, we are doing an impartial investigation on this. I would not like to comment on that. Let the authority handle that. But at the same time, marketing point of view, we are going to portray a positive picture. From a domestic tourism point of view, what we are trying to do is, as you know, like before, because of the economic situation, Sri Lanka might not be able to travel to the closer destinations like India, Singapore or Thailand. So how we can develop the domestic tourism market, from hotels point of view or from a travel point of view, that's one area. And then from a second area point of view, identify key markets for the next year, because if you heard the budget, we have a task of 2.5 million, and we are looking at it from a very positive point of view, how to engage with that, how to develop that, and what are our key segments of the market. Again, going back to the question again, I think Minister mentioned this before, media survives on sensationalism, on negative subject matter rather than positive subject matter. So we need to turn that around, and we want to, I request you and people like you to engage with us as well to portray that positive picture, to take us forward. As you know, within the not now, past 2 months have been quite decent, but even a foreigner standing in a petrol queue and all that is portrayed in a very negative manner. But now, as we all, the whole world knows that 22 million we have warm hearts, so we need to remind our citizens as well, who we are, and to take that forward. And influencers like you, and they need to talk to the diaspora as well, rather than going to who are living in UK or Spain or Sri Lanka, I'm talking about, rather than going for a holiday in Portugal or Spain or whatever, come back to Sri Lanka and visit our motherland and explore it a little bit more and help the country grow as well.
Correct. That is true. I just wanted to ask, especially, this is another question targeted to you. The world had a very negative perspective to Sri Lanka not being welcoming to people who are openly gay, especially with what happened in terms of the lesbian lover arrested or not welcomed from India, that whole news that went viral. How do you rectify this? I know in terms of our rules and regulations of our country, we are not accepting same-sex marriages, but yet in terms of tourists who want to openly travel with their identity not being questioned, how can we portray that to the world?
From a tourism perspective, we are not really concerned what their personal preferences are. It's up to the individual. And also this is not something that has erupted overnight. It has been there for centuries in the world. So it's not something new. But the current culture is getting, or the people are getting used to it globally. So we will have to accept it. It can be a cultural shock for some, but of course we are taking measures to protect our people, like the children and families and so on, when we take tourism to alien areas, to educate them of the pros and cons of tourism, positives and negatives, how to get the best out of tourists and what they should avoid. It's up to the individual. We can only create awareness, update them and so on. But there are a lot of positives coming out of tourism. There are some negatives as well. Now, for example, Danu, if you go back, these incidents, it's not only in Sri Lanka, it happens around the world.
Because of the fact that we are so wounded, everything looks really
exactly,
big.
Yeah. So it's not only for the visited, but even for the local community, there are consequences. So it's up to us to take adequate steps to safeguard our people as well as the visitor.
Brilliant. All right. Thank you for joining me today. Harin, I must say it's always important, even us, to do shows like this, to bring in, to have a conversation. It's very important to be approachable, and I must say thank you for that, because doors are always open. Absolutely. I've had you on multiple shows speaking about it. I think it's very, very important that we have this platform so that the ones who watch this show also can come to know what is happening and how we are changing. It's very, very important. Just to also do a bit of a promo here. If you are planning on flying abroad and you're really trying to find a way to change your dollars, and if you can't find the bank that you're banking with, you can still withdraw from wherever, because my friends at Lanka Pay make it so much more easier. Just wanted to tell our friends where they're flying. I don't know, you're flying to Qatar today. I don't know where you're withdrawing your money from. Don't worry, any bank will get you the money out. I just have to say it. All right, so just
it's like in a foreign bank.
Just like Harin, don't stress. You can use any ATM. Thank you to our friends at Lanka Pay, making it so much more easier. On that note, we need to wrap things up. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Absolutely a pleasure. A vibrant team. Hopefully, we are not going to make a quick change. We keep the team alive and hold them accountable. That's the best way. Yeah, that's the best way for us to see any brand progress. We'll see you soon. Till then, you keep smiling, and always remember, let's promote Sri Lanka in even the smallest way possible.
Thank you, Danu,
Thank you very much,
for having us
Danu.
on the show.
Thank you.